Okay, we're good. We're started.
York, New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams.
What's going on? This is Jay Ellis from the Knick of Time show. Here to give you that Knicks talk just in the nick of time. And it's time to talk about a brutal loss because the Knicks lose to the Celtics. 105 to 118. We're going to talk about it all, man. The good, the bad, the ugly. The Knicks, once again, man, we can't take care of business against these top teams. But I think there's a lot of other micro little things to talk about. And I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of this game, I'm going to introduce you to my peoples. First and foremost, it is the Latin assassin, my guy, Lee Escobedo, ESPN contributor, toasting contributor, and Bleacher Report contributor as well. What's going on, Lee?
What's going on, Eb, Jay? Man, a lot to talk about. It's time for some tough conversations on this podcast episode. There's going to be some harsh criticisms. Pitch for Timmy, I'm going to warn you, we don't have a conversation about Mikal Bridges. Sandman, we don't have a conversation about Tom Thibodeau. There's some tough conversations to be had about where we are as a contender, where we are going in the future, the construction of this roster, and if this roster is a Tom Thibodeau style roster. And I look forward to having all those talks.
All right. Let's get into it. And also, I'm going to introduce you to our girl, Ebony, XD1 Baller. What's going on, Ebony?
A little frustrated, not gonna hold you, but we're about to get into that. Glad to be able to have a therapy session with you guys, though.
Right. For sure.
Get to
Now,
talk some hoops. Let's get it.
I'm not gonna lie. Like you heard me say it a couple of times when it comes to this team, I always go, okay, we might have the talent to be a contender. I see what we're doing in December, but the real test is when we play these tougher teams going down the line. You've heard me say that in December. So far, when we played these tougher teams, we have not answered the bell, which leads me to believe that we are just not ready to win a chip. Whether it be time, whether it be trades, whether it be an adjustment here and there, this year we are a really good team, but we have a ways to go to being an elite team. And I'm gonna start off by saying I was extremely disappointed in the way that we started this game. It seems like we did not have the energy I expected to be playing against a top team in the NBA who kicked our ass thoroughly before. We were missing assignments. Transition defense was pretty bad. You already know the cat pick and roll. I always pick on that pretty much every damn game that we lose. The cat pick and roll wasn't there. There was a bunch of things that wasn't there that made me go like, okay, what are we doing now? We're missing the heart. We're missing the oomph. We're missing the grit and the grime and the mental toughness that it takes to beat a team like the Celtics. And then the third quarter happened and the Knicks scored 39 points in the third quarter. Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson put the team on their back. And I look at the team and go, okay, so they do have something but where was this in the first half? Why does it take getting our ass whooped for two and a half quarters to get to this point? So like I left this game feeling like we're not an elite team. We're a really good team. There could be something here, but it's going to take some time to see it. If we still lost by 20. But if I didn't see anything in the third quarter that said that we can fight and we cut it to 4, this post game might have went a lot differently. I'm not gonna hold you. And I'm sure other podcast mates might be harsher than I am at this point. Because even though I feel like we did not do exactly what we supposed to do, and there's a lot to grow from, there does seem to be a little bit of a formula of how we can hang with this team, but it's up to this team to actually put in the effort play after play to to uh to perform the formula, to actually cook the formula to what this team should be. Like, they have to execute. So it seems like when the plan was executed, we were better. But it seems like they just chose not to for the first half for whatever reason. And I'll get y'all guys' thoughts on the game, or my thoughts, if you want to build off of that.
Who's up first?
You want to crash out first, or I'm crashing out?
I'll crash out. So I started this season wanting to be not so reliant on hot takes, and I let our fan base and my co-hosts know that I was not going to call for Tibbs' job or a trade based on regular season games. I am sticking by that. I am not calling for the firing of Tom Thibodeau. I'm not back on the fire Tibbs train. I am going to wait for the playoffs. But this is the least optimistic I've been. And Jay, you know how optimistic I've been about the playoffs. I always talk about Tibbs,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the second, third best coach in any type of playoff scenario. And I think that is becoming less and less true this season based on this roster. That is less of an indictment on Tibbs as an overall coach and more the match of Tibbs to this roster. This is not a Tibbs roster, especially when Mitchell Robinson is not playing. When Mitch is back, I think we retain some of that toughness we had the previous 4 seasons now, 3 out of 4 making the postseason. But because of Carl Anthony Towns being brought in here to be the center, Mitch is not going to ever start again, in my approximation. So that you're talking about a 15, 18-minute Mitch minutes off the bench, some paired with Cat, some paired with Precious, some paired with OG, maybe even Hot Porty. But that, to me, having the majority of a game being anchored by Cat, it makes me very pessimistic going into this playoffs that Tibbs has the experimental capacity to be creative and adjust to that. I'm very, very worried because I think it was Kendrick Perkins who might have said it. When your first and second best player as guarding the pick and roll are top 5 worst in the NBA defense at the point and top 5 worst in the rim protection at the 5, you're going to have a very hard time stopping anybody. I still believe in the old adage, defense wins championships. I'm not one of these new age guys that can base analytics plus minus advanced statistics and say, well, offense at a certain rate under a certain usage, you can overpower defense. I still think getting stops is what leads to a
I
chip.
agree.
I have not seen this roster get stops like the rosters of last year. And I'm not putting all that on the greatness of Hartenstein or the greatness of Dante DiVincenzo. But there was a buy-in last year where guys knew their roles and people were playing above their usual selves defensively in turn, not just gambling on defense, but making an intention to keep their man in front of them and not be the second or third line of defense, but really stop it at the first and making the play fall apart early so you can force turnovers and get transition points. I have not seen that this year. And the fact that Tibbs has not been able to game plan against the best teams tells me I don't know how far his team is going to go in the first round. I do think we get the playoffs. I do think we get past the first round because most of the teams down there in the play-in situation are not that daunting. But we are guaranteed to match up with either Cleveland or Boston as we stand now. We're going to get the shit smacked out of us by either of those two teams. I thought we could beat Cleveland. I no longer believe that. I don't think we can get stops when it matters. And the teams in the last 25 years, I've been watching ball. I have seen very good teams beat the best teams in the regular season, and it really not mean nothing in the playoffs. But I've never seen a team fail to beat the good teams in the playoffs and go on and win a championship. I've never in my lifetime seen that because I think it's an indicator that is not a championship team. That's a
Right.
front runner. That's a pretender. And that's what I see when I watch these Knicks.
I agree with everything you just said, Lee, except for the that you I don't I still believe we can beat the Cavaliers because press until they show me otherwise in the playoffs. Because again, I'm going to say about pressure, making people look different, making players look different, making that P word makes a lot of all-stars get traded or get look a lot differently. Like we killed Randall for his lack of playoff play. So that's the only thing I did disagree about because you have to make me a believer. I'm not going to give you that until you make me a believer. But yeah, everything you said was spot on. Again, we hear people. This is why I have a problem with Thibodeau, and people try to gaslight it. And I'm not trying saying fire him now because it makes no sense. That absolutely makes no sense to do that right now at all. We're in the second half of our season. That makes I get new coach, new environment, but that's a lot to ask on a team. That's a lot to ask on anybody to just trying to make a push. So I haven't been on the fire Tibbs train. I've been a do better Tibbs train. Basically, you have to do better. You really have to do better, and this is why I never wanted him to be the coach in the first place because he's very stuck in his ways. If you look at every one of his stops, nothing really changes. He needs a certain type of roster to make his schemes look like something, and that always comes to rim protection. You need a rim protector. Without it, his defense looks different. He's always had a rim protector. He doesn't have that now. And I have to ask, is the honeymoon phase with Cat over now? Like, has he come back to ground? And it looks like it because before he was defending you every once in a while in the paint. People like, I thought Cat can't play defense, beating their chest. But this is the highs and lows of the season. Eventually, you got to come down to who you are. And this is what we're seeing. Like you mentioned, that stood out to me too because I didn't know that. Bottom five in your position at guarding your position is kind of that's terrible.
Yeah,
And to be both of your superstars at that is even worse because then people we look at Mikal and we look at OG, but essentially they're trying to disguise two of their superstars. And you know these teams are going to go at both of these guys because they want them off the floor. And again, we hear them talk about Tibbs being the most prepared coach, but I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that at all because people know ins and outs of what we're going to do. And we let the same thing happen to us over the game constantly, constantly, constantly. And we can control things we can control. I get it. It could be both. I'm not putting this on the players and I'm not solely putting this on Tibbs. With Tibbs, I beat him up the most because it's his job to make it easier for these players. It's literally his job. That is his job. So for you not to do that, that's why I have a problem with. Now, with the players, the hustling back, the knowing who your defensive assignment is, that could be put on for both. Because if you play for the most prepared coach, you should know who you have in transition. You should know to pick up the ball in transition. You should know if you behind the play to hustle back. These are all things that so it's like an oxymoron right now. You're telling me one thing and I'm seeing another. It's just like people tried to tell me that Precious was this IQ player, but I've never seen that in his career. I've never seen that. I know he's an athletic player, but cerebral, I haven't really seen that. You get what I mean? He giveth and he taketh. So it's just like a lot of stuff. Again, control what you can control. Boxing out, that's fundamentals. You give him boxing out. It's like a whole team of Randalls right now. We're except for Josh Hart. We're watching instead of doing. We're a step
yeah,
slow. We're a step slow. You let Luke Cornett just walk and get an offensive rebound because nobody put a body on him. Literally, that was the issue. Nobody touched him. Nobody around him. I saw Drew Holiday set a pick on my center and get him hung up for a dunk. For Porzingis wide open dunk. My center let Drew Holiday screen him for the opposing center to get a wide open dunk. Like this is tough. When announcers start questioning your softness, your toughness is an issue. That is an issue on national TV. We gave up back to back. You know how defense is for me. So these two last games did something to my soul. Back to back 40-point first quarters. That is ridiculous. Teams are
super
not having to
ridiculous.
go to an option B. They're not having to go to an option C. Their first option is working every time.
Yeah.
No matter. We can't guard the three. We can't guard the paint. So who are we guarding?
Right.
Who are we guarding?
And it's like,
And one more before we're quick, then you can say we're playing drop coverage in a league of shooters. We're playing drop coverage in a league of shooters. We're literally putting them in their spots. We're giving them their rhythm and then taking ourselves out of rhythm because our coach keeps taking people out that's on their runs. Steve Kerr and Tom Thibodeau are criminals when it comes to that, ruining their own team's runs. So yeah, I'm not happy at all. I got a lot more to talk. I'm not gonna monopolize. I know we're gonna get into it more, but like
Yeah.
the most prepared coach, Jay, they making me look at the other coaches like, what the hell y'all doing? If this the
Yeah,
most
there's a
prepared
lot of
one,
things to go here. Like first drop versus switching, right? There's drop coverage. First of all, I still don't know why we're doing drop coverage against these elite pull up 3-point shooting teams. But also, it's like there's gasoline on a fire when it's like Carl doesn't even attempt to challenge. It's not even like, oh, I'm gonna drop and then I'm gonna come up like because Carl Anthony Towns first half versus second half, he was coming up and challenging Porzingis on those threes in the second half, and Porzingis started to miss. He didn't do that the entire first half, like the entire first half. And then it's like we have like I said when the trade first happened, I was extremely worried about the Brunson Karl Anthony Towns defense. That was my biggest concern. Here's the thing: Brunson shows up in games. Like there was times when Brunson was ISO'd defensively, and he caused turnovers. Why did it take Cat like a 2 halves to play freaking defense? And it's like threes and switching. I don't know about you guys, but it seems like maybe the switching just might be the remedy for Cat, because I feel it seems like when Cat switches, he might get burned sometimes, but he can contain people one-on-one in stretches. So
To your credit, Jay, you've been saying that since the start of the season. You've been saying that for a long time.
He did a good job when that play against Tatum. He did stay in front of Tatum when they switched and they had him on the island, but I wouldn't trust that all the time. But he did a good job.
But
He
it's
definitely
like
did.
your options are here are your options. Your options on these pick and pop situations are A, drop, B, switch, C, a wing player comes over and rotates to Tatum, leaving somebody else open. So those are the three ways you guard it. So it's like, which poison are we picking? You know what I'm saying? Like those are the three poisons we're picking. If we're saying we're not doing drop, and that's been hurting us the most, then we're saying we got to switch more.
Mm-hmm. I'm scared about the switching more because when we do switch, we always seem to have Jalen Brunson on a bigger play. Why is Jalen Brunson keep getting caught all alone on the island by bigger post player? And it's not even like the smaller, maybe Jalen Browns or the Tatums. We talking Luke Cornett, Al Horford type of vibes. Like,
Right.
why is he getting caught?
So if we're not
on
doing
those
that,
two
then
by
we're gonna
himself?
rotate. We're gonna rotate a wing off of another shooter, and we're just gonna be in rotation. Like we have to pick our poison. Like which one are you more comfortable? What poison are you more comfortable picking? Switching, dropping, or rotating?
I want to add to this conversation that I was telling Jay that you were calling for and you were advocating for switching over drop coverage by like the month of December. I remember having conversations with all of us, and that you decided that might be a better resolve to our defensive issues because we're really glaring the month of December opposed to the drop. And I've noticed a fall off in OG in that pre-switch that we saw very early on. That's happening less and less. Conspiracy time. I think OG has said, I'm not doing that anymore. It's put me in greater positions to possibly get injured. It's put me to have to guard the rim, which I can end up taking contact and falling and hurting my ankle or my knee. I'm going to continue guarding the cut at the level or on the perimeter opposed to doing that pre-switch. And it's forcing Cat to really stay in a drop. But the problem is he's in a drop and he's not defending the rim. So it's almost it's 5-on-4 essentially. He's just kind of going through the motions. He's not even putting his arms up and just guarding. He's not even doing that.
That's what
There's no verticality. Yeah, it's, as Ebony said, it's a lot of ball watching. So it's a peculiar situation, in my opinion. I fucking hate saying these absolute comments, but I've got to the point in the season where this is what I've noticed. I don't think we can win a championship with OG Anunoby at the 4. I think only OG needs to be the 3. We need to bring in a size, not necessarily someone who can switch. That's not the most important thing to me, but who can defend the rim. allowed Cat to be that 5 out there on the perimeter. Get a 4 of Randall's size, but Isaiah Stewart's defensive acumen. Someone of that 6'9", 6'10" caliber who's wide, broad, and can defend the 4 and the 5 in a traditional sense, because neither Cat or OG can do that. They can do it on a switch where OG was fronting Embiid. Yeah, you can do it for 15, 18% of the possessions at a certain usage level, but an entire game, it's untenable. We need a traditional 4 next to Cat who can lock down and be that rim protector.
So my only pushback is third quarter, we make a huge swing. The lineup was Jalen Brunson, Deuce McBride, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, and Cat. We went on a run. The defense was clicking. We were forcing Tatum into long contested threes like we wanted to. We weren't conceding rebounds because we were conceding offensive rebounds left and right. Like even when we were playing defense, it seemed like nobody was crashing the boards for like a good quarter and a half. And then we went on a run. And then I'm like,
we were down by 10 on rebounds at halftime. By 10.
we down 10. Like, so it makes me think, are we just not executing? Are we just not executing? Are these guys not following the plan? Because all of a sudden for all the flaws Tibbs has, we already know there's 3 things he preaches no matter what team he's playing. He's coaching: rebound, defend, move the ball, no turnovers. He says the same 4 things for years.
Jay, can I push back a little bit on that? I would agree with that, and that's why I said I'm not gonna put this solely on Tibbs and the players, but I have to put it a lot on Tibbs because he is the commander of this team. You put the players out. If you don't give certain people a longer leash than you do others, that this doesn't happen. If they're not showing you something, yank them. That's what most coaches do. You're not showing me something, yank them. If you have a defensive specialist or something that's showing you more than the other person, believe your eyes. He once just recently said the game talks to you. Well, he's not listening anymore.
I think that's why McCall was on the bench in the third quarter.
Huh?
I think that's why McCall was on the bench in the third quarter.
I get it, but the fact is that I thought, to be honest, I think that Deuce should be starting. I really truly believe that. And again, he shows you every time you put him in that starting lineup, his production on both ends. So when Lee says that this is not a Tom Thibodeau's team, I believe him, and that's offensively and defensively. We traded for 2 players that not so much ISO, can get their bucket or ISO wise. They need movement, both of them. Mikal and OG both need you to move them. OG looked better in our system because of the type of last year, because the type of role he was playing. He was there because him and Dante were the best 3-point shooters from the corners. You get what I mean? Now we're asking him not to be in that corner, but get us a bucket when we need it because everybody else is struggling, and that's not necessarily their game. Remember how I was saying Deuce need to be with the ball in his hand? That has to be OG and Mikal. Their hand do a little suspect to themselves. So like on both ends, he doesn't have the rim protector. They just traded the only rim protector we really had in Jericho Sims. So Prezi the boss, I seen that too. I miss Sims too. Because if we had played our specialists when we needed them, you will see why we needed them. Sims is never going to be an offensive juggernaut, but he was a big that could defend on the perimeter. He rebounded and he protected the paint. All the things that we're having issues with, like shout out to Breeze. He said it best. We are bad at the intangibles.
Yeah.
All the little, the dirty work, all the little categories that were getting us by, so we didn't have to depend solely on our offense. Those are non-existent. We're at the bottom of the league in rebounding, offensive rebounding. Please, you get what I mean? Fast break points. Sometimes when they feel like it, like we get all of our points solely in the half-court offense. So in that case, I'm going to say yes, Tibbs, because we've been asking to show a little bit more of the rookies. If your starters are not playing, Show us something else. Show them you're not scared to go to the other bench because all these other good teams, they get every last drop of their team. Any talent they could find, they're going to find it. So if you're hot this game, I'm going to keep you on it. We don't do that in New York at all. So we're like our worst enemy. Our coach is our worst enemy at times, most times. And that's why I have an issue with Tips. It has to be a balance of your system and your team's talent. You can't force a circle into like a circle is a circle. You can't make it a square.
Facts. Yes.
So that's
Jay,
that's my issues with Tibbs.
Jay, I want to respond. You brought up my favorite point, I think, of the entire analysis of this game was the third quarter when we made that run. And you asked why. If is it the personnel or is it the play calling? And to me, the deciding factor in that third quarter run was Deuce McBride. When he was inserted and you subbed him out for Bridges, you had elite point of attack defense. And instead of them scoring, as Ebony said, off of their first option, now it was a second and a third option. And a lot of those third option end up being ISO Tatum. And I thought OG played his best defense on Tatum in the third quarter, as well as McBride stopping dribble penetration, stopping playmaking from the top of the arc. And that really slowed down their offense. They countered to that. They're like, all right, let's intense our defensive intensity on the other side. Let's keep doubling Cat. Let's really crash out on the three-point shooters and make them go into ISO ball too. That was a sign factor. Tibbs didn't have a counter for that counter. He reverted right back to the same mode system. He allowed for whatever the defense has given you, and the defense was giving us jack shit. So the shots were awful, and we went back to ISO ball. But that adjustment of having McBride to defend Giroux and Derek White's playmaking and take off that first pull-up three or that first drive to the basket, that to me is why the third quarter lit differently than the other three. But again, we were talking about a very talented coach and a talented team. I don't know if Tibbs in this roster is currently constructed that they don't match each other the way Missoula and that roster does. They run his everything, blitzing, everything, switching, pull up a large volume on threes. He plays to his strengths. Thibodeau doesn't.
Yeah.
And Lee, real quick before you go, Jay, I want to ask what he just said. But Missoula, I call him Timon. He keeps his players accountable, right? You see the quick timeouts if they mess up a couple of plays in a row. He's not playing that. Everybody, it doesn't matter. From Tatum to Cornette, he's on your behind. Pause. Like that's what a coach is supposed to be. You get the most out of your team when they know what to expect from you. So if I have a short leash, but this guy here messing up and has a longer leash, that looks bad. The trick looks bad to the rest of the team, and that's just facts. But if I know my superstar is getting chewed out, pause, is like I am for the same stuff, that's like, all right, I gotta get my stuff together. I gotta, do what I gotta do my job.
I just wanna. You talked about the third quarter. I feel like after the third quarter, Brunson went back to the bench. Cat was still on the floor. At that point, it was Cat. I think at that time it was Cat, Campaign, Deuce, Precious. Or Precious didn't come in.
I think it was Shamit.
Shamit.
It was Shamit.
Cat, Campaign, Deuce, Shamit, and it was another bench player. It was like five. It was four bench players in Cat. Like when it got to four bench players in Cat, Porzingis started cooking Cat. Like Porzingis went to the whole head fake, like Cat got screened, Porzingis layup. I think Porzingis might have shot a jumper after it. I feel like, and then Cat falls to the floor after a layup, and like all hell broke loose. Because now you got Precious out there with Mikal Bridges. And Mikal Bridges was cheeks for like mad long. I think he hit like maybe one shot or two. And it was like, after Cat went down and Precious was at the 5, I was like, oh, we're done now. We're done. We're done. Like my only kind of silver lining here for me is the third quarter with Deuce McBride in that lineup. So that means that's two things. Hey, either Macau, you gotta step up because you're that missing piece to help disrupt things because this is the same starting five without Macau. Two, even though Tatum went off, the times when OG Anunoby was guarding Tatum, he wasn't going off, even in the first quarter.
Sure.
Like
sure.
the times when Tatum was going off was when OG was guarding somebody else because it was transition, or pressure was on him, or it was in transition in general. For these last like few games, I've been like, we have not seen OG on Tatum yet. How does this look? OG did a pretty damn good job on Tatum today when guarding him.
Yes, he did.
So I'm still saying this year we're not a championship team. This year we're a really good team. We're not a championship team. I don't know if it's going to take trades. I don't know if it's going to take time and chemistry to get roles better, to get better at the intangibles. I don't know what it's going to take, but today we're not a championship team. There's some things to take away from this game. I don't know if Mitch helps that much against the Celtics per se. I'm not on the Mitch is gonna get us over the hump versus the Celtics. I feel like Mitch could get us over the hump versus the Cavs, but I'm not sure if the Celtics, I feel like his effectiveness, like if there's a scale of effectiveness versus the Cavs and the Celtics, I feel like the Cavs would be much higher.
Can I? I'm a rebut.
Go ahead.
Tag me in, Jay. Yeah, I think people. A lot of people say the same thing. I was literally at a watch party when we played against Boston the last time, and everybody literally, it was like a chorus, like they planned it or something. They turned around like one after another. About 4 or 5 people turned to me. Mitch ain't helping this. That's what they told me. Yo, Eb, I don't know how Mitch helping this. Eb, like I don't know how. It just one after another. People, that's what they was telling me. I'm gonna just say, with the intimidation factor, the fact that they hesitate when they see that man anywhere near them is enough to get somebody to recover. So when we say we don't know how they're gonna help with 3-point, if I'm driving to the rim, but I know there's a bona fide rim protector there, I hesitate. That hesitation could be enough for somebody else to recover. So it is domino effects with all of that. When we talk about rebounding, we're not really effective offensive rebounding. So people can leak out. They can do their thing, get into transition, all that other good stuff. With Mitchell Robinson, teams have to make sure they box out and stay and secure that rebound before doing that. So that helps us with the lack of fast break defense or whatever we have, or knowing what man we have. There's a lot of ways that Mitchell Robinson will help with this game.
I'm not saying he won't help at all.
No, I'm not saying you did, but I'm hearing this all through social media. So when I address this, it's not coming at you, Jay. But they also talk about the Tatum and everybody killing. Again, they were killing us all over. They got whatever they want. If you make people go to their option B, what does that look like? You get what I mean? Well, if you make people work for their points, what does that look like? If you have somebody thinking, oh, he's going to block my shot, what did that team look like? And then again, I mentioned we were down 10 rebounds at halftime. Does that happen with Mitchell Robinson? Does Luke Cornett getting alley-oops happen with Mitchell Robinson? You get what, it's a lot of stuff that might not happen if we do have that presence. So I really think that, no. Do I think he's a savior? All that? I think the spots that we're having issues in is all what Mitchell Robinson specializes in.
Right. So it is, but it's like the problem is, okay, for the Cavs, I feel like it makes even more sense to play Mitch and Cat together. For the Celtics, it doesn't make as much sense unless there's like certain lineups on the floor, which is why that's why I'm saying I'm not sure if Mitch, he would help, but I'm not sure if he's like the get us over the hump guy. Like, because there was times where they went two bigs, you know what I'm saying, when they went the Cornette, Horford route. It's like, all right, cool. Then maybe that's the time it's like, all right, you can plug Mitch in, match it for match it, and it'll help us. But then it's like
this
when
is
you
what
have Mitch
I get
and
what you're
Cat in
saying.
there, and then all right, now Cat has to guard the quicker four the whole time, like instead of like being switched on him and guarding him for like a play, then this
I
seems to
think
be an issue.
Cat is a 4 though. This is what I've been telling y'all the whole season. I remember I still got the paper before our pregame. Remember first game of the season when we said
He's a
if
four. I'm
Cat,
talking about the Celtics though. I'm not talking about other
no.
teams. I'm talking about the
No,
Celtics.
I get it. I'm talking even the Celtics because we had the likes of again Al Horford posting up Jalen Brunson with nobody in sight. Nobody intimidated him. Nobody to fear. He's not fearing Cat. Nobody's scared of Cat in the paint, and we've seen that. They constantly contest him because one, they want to get him in foul trouble so they can get him off the floor. If if Mitch is on the floor, that looks differently. People hesitate. They stutter step when they see this man. I've seen the likes of Kawhi in them do it. I've seen PG-13 think about a shot versus this man. Like, oh, maybe I don't want that. And that was enough for somebody else to come over and do their job. So that's a lot of this is intimidation. It's like Steph on the offensive. And I say one of Steph's greatest offensive weapons is his presence alone because people want to know where he is on the court at all times, and that can
I'm
make
not
somebody go
disputing any
back
of
door.
that. I'm just talking about lineup.
Yeah, no, I
I'm just
get
talking
it.
about
You said
lineups.
against
Because
Boston. I'm telling
I'm
you,
just saying
I don't think it makes a difference. You know, when we played Boston, that it was iHeart that got torched.
right, but in this situation, Mitch playing the five, so you're gonna have Cat guarding Jason Tatum full time. Like, what are we like? That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, that is just about lineup.
But they have to match up with us, is what I'm saying. Also, like this is what I'm saying. Mitchell Robinson can cause mismatches on his own. That like we're not even talking about offensively. I'm talking about defensively and rebounding. He causes mismatches because you have to put a body on that man. You have to have somebody around that man because he can cause havoc on them boards. Like he literally can cause havoc on the board. He can
Right,
cause
but
havoc in
then
the paint. He's
you
our rim
gain that,
protection.
and then you gain that, and then you have Cat guarding Tatum.
I get it, but Jay, what's the alternative? We're not guarding the 3-pointer anyway. We're not guarding the 3-pointer or the paint. Like, what's the alternative?
I think the alternative is we need a better defender in the starting lineup at the 4. I opened my initial statements with Mitch is going to come back and play 15, 18 minutes. There's a whole other 35, 34 minutes of a game. But Cat is going to be playing the 5, and we're going to continue to cook because OG Anunoby is also not a rim protector, a full-time rim protector. So you have two guys who are mismatched on defense at all times. Even though OG is a demon on defense, he's not. His preference is not to guard on the block. He wants to be guarding on the perimeter or in the mid range. So there's no solution to this defensive issues until there's a roster upgrade. In my opinion, I'm very, very concerned about what this is going to end up happening in the summer. I think there's a very strong likelihood that Tom Thibodeau could underperform and be fired, and we have a different coach next season. I think that's a very real possibility. I think it is going to come down to how he coaches in the playoffs, how he loses, if he loses, who he loses to. Context is going to be very important, right? If we go in hobbled or injured or someone, nagging injury to Cat and we lose to, I don't know, the Milwaukee Bucks in 7, maybe he's not fired. But if we just swept by the Milwaukee Bucks or we lose to the Pacers in 5, I think there's a very real chance he is.
I don't even think that's the biggest issue, yo. Like to be honest with you, I mean, like I feel like OG is a really good team defender. Like even if he's not leading the league in block shots, he's always been a good team defender. Like I feel like I don't feel like that's the biggest thing, yo. I really don't. Like like I said, that third quarter, you know what it is too. When I compare the second quarter to third quarter, there was times we played defense in the second quarter, and then we got the offense, and they got an offensive rebound and scored a 3. To me, the biggest reason for the push in the third quarter is we played defense. We actually got the rebound, and then we pushed the ball on a fast break. Like I feel like coaching. I feel like drilling into players' head to go after the ball because our McCallum OG aren't getting rebounds like that. But when we made a concerted effort to actually get the rebounds and finish the defensive play, we actually started to run. I feel like things like that is going to help us go to the next level.
I hope
But
so.
Jay,
Jay.
OG is not just being a good team defender. He's having to be a defensive anchor, and that's not his job. He's best when he's able to be basically a safety, where he's able to fly around and force turnovers and play the passing lanes and guard anybody on the switch. He's right now having to anchor our defense, and to me, that's a weakness for him. That's not what he's strong suited to. We need someone next to him at the 5, or move him to the 3 and bring in someone at the 4 that can really defend traditional bigs and traditional 4s. To even give you some 3-point shooting as well. We don't have that on the roster, and I don't think we're going to become a good defensive team until we do. In the third quarter, that you mentioned again, that's because Deuce was guarding the point of attack and limiting them to that first pull-up 3. It started having to be Tatum on an island, and OG played him fantastic one-on-one.
If that's the reason, but that contradicts your point, because if you're saying that it's OG's problem, but then we saw better when Deuce was in, then it's not OG problem.
No,
That sound like
he
a
didn't have to be
Tibbs
the anchor,
problem.
because it's no longer Brunson and Bridges and Hart. It's Brunson and Deuce McBride. And Deuce McBride's a better point of attack defender than anyone else.
But that's what I'm saying. You the way you're breaking it down, you're more saying it's a Macau problem. The way you're explaining it.
I think Macau is part of it, but Macau's weakness makes OG have to be the anchor, and as well as Cat's deficiencies on defense makes OG have to be the defensive anchor instead of the perimeter defender, or defending just Tatum and trying to fight over screens and stay on him off of switches and pick and roll. That's where he's at his best. Right now, with that starting lineup, OG is covering for so many mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. That's what I was just about to mention that. They're overcompensating, and you can tell. They're trying to like they be primarily on their man and be the help out defender, and in between they get caught in the middle a lot of times. And that happens. These are NBA players. They're great offensively. This is an offensive league right now. Not that that's why the defenders are now getting paid, because there's not many of them. But I think, yeah, I noticed like Mikal, he plays. I like the way he plays defense. He doesn't quit, more so, he tries to get over the screen. Is he gonna be perfect? No, nobody's perfect. Perfect. Even defenders get they're behind busts sometimes. Somebody has your number. That's always the fact. Somebody has your number. But
Do they
we
have his
can't.
number? Because he was like a negative 23, and
They might.
then he didn't score until like it didn't really matter.
That's what I was about to tell you. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not even. Not. No. It's noticeable that he's back in his struggling, and our offense is back stagnant. We had 6 assists in the whole first half.
Damn.
Yeah, that's crazy. We had
That is
6
crazy.
assists in one half. So
Oof.
it's not you know uh surprising to me that he's struggling again, because again, this is a man that needs to be moved. So when Lee has mentioned, this is not a Thibodeau roster, and I'm starting to really believe on both sides, because Thibodeau is not a very offensive minded movement person. Picks
Right.
here and there, double screens off the back every once in a while, and then we're like, oh, movement, movement, movement. But we play against teams with movement, 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 and it looks a lot differently. It looks a lot different. So, it's just like maybe it's not surprising to me that he's struggling now. We're regressing. This is regression. This little strip, we regressed. The things that we were getting back at, and not letting Jalen Brunson have to guard bigger players. Remember, we praised them for getting rid of that. Like not too long ago, we was praising them for eliminate the mismatches. That's come back. The stagnant offense has come back. The lack of defense and transition has come back. The not knowing who your man is in transition has come
The
back.
transition play defense stuff is probably the thing that's bugging me the most.
We are regressing.
The
In
transition
this little
defense and the
strip.
pick and roll defense
Yes, the
are the
drop
two
cup.
things
That's
that bug me the most.
me too. I'm in here. Going crazy. I had to start a little happy hour. I ain't gonna lie to
Yeah.
you.
All right. Man. I mean, I got nothing else to say, man. Like the only other thing that I really felt like stood out to me was like the Cat slow starts. It's like when Cat got aggressive, it was it was a different dynamic to the team. Like it seemed like he was kind of passive, and then I don't know. Is usually what happens. Usually, what we've been doing is we'll play out of Cat from his key, and he'll pass the cutters and stuff like that from the top of the key. That wasn't happening. Um, they were doubling. There was times when Josh Hart and Precious Achiuwa were on the floor together. It made it hard for him to get going because they was doubling Cat. They was doubling Brunson. Like we might against these teams, we have to like establish Cat earlier, maybe. Because it seemed like when Cat started going, maybe that's why his defense got better in the third quarter. Maybe he was just more engaged because he started getting going. But we have to find a way to not have to wait so long to get Cat going.
Yeah, and Cat gotta stop letting the Drew Holiday stop him. I don't know who OG, who Cat, who Mikal gotta work. I know who they gotta work. I'm lying. You got Melo right there. You got Patrick Ewing right there. You got Starks right there. You got Allen Houston right there. People who can get their own buckets in your positions type vibes. Go lead on to and Stephon Marbury, not a bucket too. So they're all around the Knick organization. Reach out to them. Please reach out to them because OG and Mikal do have issues sometimes getting their own bucket. And Cat has issues solidifying his position. It's too many times another little can push him out of the paint and then block him from getting the pass on top of that.
Yeah.
Like so, Patrick Ewing, I wasn't the biggest Pack fan, but I know what he can do, what he did. You get what I mean?
Yeah, that's a fact.
Go talk to him about some post moves. Hit Hakeem. People laughed at me when I remember here.
Nah,
Somebody was like,
yo,
"Oh,
you haven't been. I've been saying it. He needs to pay for that $100,000 Hakeem camp for like the last couple of months.
yeah." Same. So people been killing us in the chat about that or whatever. But it is what it is
Nah,
because
you need to do that.
you need to. He need to get because running and trying to bully past somebody when bullying is not your game. It looks funny. It doesn't look real. And we see the results. It don't look good either.
Right.
A drop step, a shake, a fadeaway, learning how to seal off the smaller guard will be a start. Like fundamentals. Like start there. Start there, please. Like stop. You can't drive past everybody. And you're a New York Knick. They're not giving you the call. Stop with the oh my God. I cringe every time you say it. Oh my God. I cringe, Cat. I cringe.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, every time he complains, I feel like the refs laugh.
Yo,
My
the
man
voice.
sound like Mario.
I think it's the voice too, yo. I feel like he's on my team, so I don't be saying that. But when he complains with the high pitched voice, I feel like
Zesty.
I feel like you got more bass in your voice, you get the foul. I don't know.
Stop complaining. You're a Knick. They're not giving you the Minnesota calls anymore. Like that's just it. Stop. And please, if you're gonna complain, say, "Oh my," put the bass, put the deep, not the Mickey Mouse Mario voice. Like every time he say it, I just like, ugh. Like, come on, stop, Cat. Like they're not giving you that call. You should know that. It's the second half of the season. They ain't do it first half. They're not going to do the second half. They're definitely not doing it in the playoffs. Just play hard, play smart. Not even.
I also don't understand. I think there's no real excuse for why we don't attempt more threes. I think that absolutely immediately should be an adjustment that the team consciously makes. And they oscillate between doing that. We saw a dip in the beginning of the season. Then they started moving their way up, and they were kind of in the middle of the pack on attempts. We're such a high percentage three-point shooting team. I think we've maintained like around fourth or fifth in the NBA, somewhere between like 37, 38% as a team. We're bottom five in attempts. Like it's kind of staggering to think about how few attempts we shoot, even though we have the personnel 1 through 5 to hit them. Why the hell are we not a high volume team? Boston has shown you can win a championship doing so. And again, they're coming to this season, the number one 3-point volume team in the game, 48 attempts a game, which is, I mean, to average that is insane. While the Knicks are only averaging 34. I would love to see a higher volume. I think the reason that in the 3 games that we've played them, we've only led out of like 144 minutes, 50 seconds against the Celtics is because we're constantly trying to outscore them 2 against 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we was on our run, we were okay because the team that we were playing didn't shoot threes that way. So it's just like, okay, we're gonna out two you.
Yes.
Eventually we sprinkle a little three and then we're out
We can
two
now
you.
too.
Yeah, so yeah, I definitely agree. We've been top percentage, one of the top percentage team. Oh yeah, literally. Like I've been in these team stats heavy, and we're up there all the time. But again, where else we're up, and we're the bottom of the league at. Like you mentioned, the 3-point percentages, and that again comes down to our old school philosophy, the coach. He's from an era where you get the easy bucket. The three is not. I remember playing in that
I
type
push
of
back on
era.
that. He doesn't. The
Yeah,
coach
no,
doesn't. The
no.
coach push. The coach preaches good threes all the time. He pushes.
But good threes, not that puts pressure. Like good threes, this the three league. They're just letting it go, any
Yo,
and everybody. I'm pretty sure he has a limit on how many threes. You got to be wide
there
ass
is
open
no limit
pressure
on how
before
many
you shoot.
threes. That is not
You,
even
but
true.
we heard iHeart literally tell us he was in the box. So for how
You
can
talking
we
about
say that?
iHeart? We have OG, Mikal Bridges.
Okay, but I'm not talking about area. I'm talking about in general. The Luke Cornett has a green light. When he's open, he has a green light to shoot him. This is what I mean. Like they have green light. Other coaches don't put
That's just
limitations
not
on that.
true.
Because how is
Luke
that not
Cornett doesn't have the green light to
true?
shoot threes. He doesn't hardly shoot threes.
Well, he's shooting them shits on us then. I'm, I'm confused.
You
But
saw
that's what I'm
you
saying.
confusing him with Kristaps Porzingis?
No, he was shooting too. Is the reason if he doesn't shoot, then we could play him like Josh Hart. But we didn't, did we?
Yo, we listen. You know why we don't shoot a lot of threes? Because Josh Hart is scared to shoot threes. Mikal Bridges is really good in the mid range, and he only shoots threes in motion and quick. And Karl Anthony Towns has been augmented this game to go outside in, inside out because of what he did last season with the Timberwolves. When he was the Timberwolves in the playoffs, he tried to shoot a bunch of threes and he shot themselves out the series. He came over here and tried
That's
to
a whole.
augment
Yeah, I
his
get that.
game, which I feel like was the right thing to do. But I don't think that's
I
a
get I
Tibbs
get
thing.
that.
That's a
That's
personnel
two
thing.
that's totally two extremes though. We're talking literally we're at the bottom of the league at 3-point attempts. And our coach is a very old-minded team.
Were
So
we at
we
the bottom
can't
of the
I
league in
can't I
3-point
can't
attempts
agree
last
with
year?
that because I know his philosophy. I know when I was growing up, you had position players.
Were we bottom of the league in
Thibodeau is
3-point attempts
from
last
that
year?
era. Thibodeau is from that era. He's from the
Were
position
we bottom of
player
the league in
era.
3-point attempts last year?
What happened?
Were we bottom of the league in 3-point attempts last year?
I don't know, but we're bottom of the league now with better percentage, is what I'm saying. That's a
That's what I'm saying.
problem.
It's personnel.
That's is that how's that person? Oh, I can't agree with that, Jay. I'm sorry.
I think with Karl Anthony Towns, it shouldn't be personnel. We should be jacking up a way more threes when
For
Cat is at
real.
5.
But then when Mikal Bridges got here, I think everybody expected Mikal Bridges to shoot more threes. The first 2 or 3 games of the season, he shot more threes and it was horrible. Then he started getting to the mid range, and everybody's like, "Oh, we should mix it up more. We should post him up with Trae Young and da 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 da." So he started doing that, and now Mikal hardly shoots. He goes 3 quarters without shooting, and then shoots in the 4th quarter.
I get it. I'm just saying, if you are good at something, you exploit that.
Yes. Agreed.
And then we got to a point where OG Anunoby was. I feel like OG Anunoby last season was putting up more threes than he was this season.
But yeah, but because we're asking him for, I mentioned that earlier in the pod. We're
Because we
asking him
had
to do more
Julius Randle
offensively.
posting.
Yeah, we're asking for him to do more offensively right now.
We
really
had Julius
are.
Randle post, as crazy as Julius Randle was, and he was the turnover machine he was. When Julius Randle posted, everybody else had wide open threes. So OG Anunoby to me had more time to shoot threes last season than he did this season. Right now, what they're doing, they'll have Karl Anthony Towns shoot threes sometimes, and then but they'll use him as a spacer and then have our guards cut to the hole.
I saw a stat nerd the other day post something on Twitter that it was a X and Y access draft, and it was like shoots the highest percentage and then shoots them at volume. And Karl Anthony Towns was one of the lowest volume, but the highest and best catch and shoot 3-point an entire NBA. And then among centers, it's an even wider gap, but he's shooting a the lowest he has in 7 seasons at 4.8 a game. If you're that dominant in this current spacing, up it. It makes perfect sense for you too. That is very questionable, especially because he passes up a lot of those wide open threes to try and remain being that playmaker. When, in my opinion, if the defense is given to you, damn it, take it.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
All right, yo.
But
See you to the chat. Nice little debate.
yeah.
Yo,
Shout out
great
to
conversation.
shout out to Cater who hopped in on TikTok land, and he's going between TikTok and YouTube. Shout out to Cater. How did you like the experience on TikTok, Cater? 'Cause I see you back on Knicks Nation TV. Let me know how you like the experience on TikTok, Cater. He's like more friends on YouTube. Also,
Sure
shout out to everybody else on TikTok land. Shout out to Charles, New York, everything who actually shared our live stream on TikTok. Salute to you, Charles.
Thank you, brother.
Salute to you, Apple user as well. Appreciate the support from you guys on TikTok for sure as we're trying to grow that side of the stream. Also, salute to Knicks Nation TV, Sherwin, and the Grill, the Predicate, No Cap, John Smith, Gregory Lee, DeRas, S. Parker. He's in the chat. I see you, Ebony, in the chat talking. HMRX, great. The Real Darrell, everybody else is rocking with the KOT show. Nick Yak, I see you as well. If you're enjoying the conversation and the debate, hit this like and subscribe. We be talking basketball after every game. Glad to have like the 3-man weave going on today. So we can have like a nice little healthy debate on what's right and what's wrong with this team. I enjoying the conversation tremendously. Well, from you guys, disagree or not, I enjoyed the conversation.
Yes, for sure.
Also, $5 super chat from Gregory. He says, "Let's be honest, Tibbs has to go. We looked unorganized and out there, and no offensive identity or defensive identity. Tibbs can't lead this team." All right.
I had to bring it out. I had to find it. I had to bring it out. Sorry. I had to go get it.
Back.
Yeah, I got some new friends because this is how we playing. They animals, right? But it's the little stuffed ones.
those
they Cubs today.
those are
They
the
Cubs
assistant
today.
coaches that follow Tibbs at every stop.
Oh,
Dave Erdman, all those bums. Dice Yashimoto. His yes men. I don't hate Tibbs. I got concerns, man. I think we all do. As
Yeah.
fans, we're just not
I
sure
got
if
PTSD
he's the right coach.
with Tibbs.
Yeah,
But you know what's crazy?
Definitely had concerns. I'm not gonna lie, the defense has concerned me since December.
Yeah. But I gotta say, we're still third in the East. We're like a solid 7 games ahead of Indiana Pacers, who's in 4th seed. We're one of the best teams in the NBA. We got 2 MVP candidates. What I liked about our situation is, and why I'm going to remain optimistic, we're a couple tweets away from being a real contender. This is the first time I've been able to say that in my fandom. Like, we're very, very, very close. Now, that tweet might be something as simple as an Isaiah Stewart type player being traded for to help shore up the defense of the front court. It might be. Or it might be replacing Tibbs with a young coach, a Sam Cassell, or somebody else. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm just thankful we have the hardest pieces to find, which is a Brunson or a Karl Anthony Towns or an OG or a Josh Hart. That I'm most thankful for.
Yeah. And I'm always I'm gonna throw in too. It could be that. That's why I said it can be a move. It could be getting the player back. Shout out to Mitchell Robinson. It could be time too. Sometimes like that mental because like I said, I can look at this team and see that we don't have the toughness that we had last year.
I agree.
Like I can look at this team and see that. So I don't know if that's like a time thing because there are still people from this team who was here last year who knows what that was this year. So I'm talking to Brunson. I'm talking to Josh Hart. I'm talking to OG Anunoby. I'm talking to Mitch. I'm talking to Deuce. Like those 5 guys were here last season. So they mentally know how to feel to like grind games out. And they have that muscle memory on like, yo, we got to do this to grind games out. Mikal Bridges, I don't know if he's still getting that Brooklyn rust off of him. Cause because there was a time when Mikal Bridges was that dude in Phoenix. And he's shown it this season in spurts. and in certain games where it's like, oh wow, like he's had a few game changing blocks at the end of regulation a few times. So he has that. You know what I'm saying? He didn't show that today, but he has that. So I don't know if it's like just getting around the guys that are here that have that and like turning that key so it's there more consistently. You know what I mean? So that's why I keep saying like maybe it is the move, but maybe it's just like the culture of the people from here before starting to hammer in what that culture was and go, hey man, wake up. This is what we need from you. And building that character and building that camaraderie to bring it into the next season. So I'm just waiting to see how this unfolds. Don't like the way this game ended. There's some concerns, but there's certain things we can look at to build. But good conversation overall. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, in fact, it was. I love talking sports. We ain't never gonna always agree. That's why I love it. But it's always with respect and respect of the game with basketball knowledge. So I love these conversations with you guys.
Absolutely.
What's
Same here,
crazy
guys.
is that the makeup of this current Knicks starting five, there's an argument it's better defensively in terms potential wise than the Suns team that Bridges was the best defender on, which had a 38-year-old Chris Paul and a very soft DeAndre Ayton
Right.
at center. Someone really struggled guarding the pick and roll. Booker, a above average defender, sometimes a great defender when he's locked in, and then Jay Crowder, undersized at the four, but a feisty guy who plays passing lanes. Dan was a lot on defense, but can guard the 1 through 5 hypothetically, right? This roster with OG and Hart, really, even with Brunson, who's playing the best defense of his career this season, especially in one-on-one situations, and love the way he's guarded up. I look at this roster, I'm like, to me, it's Cat. Cat's a guy that's got to be better. Cat's the one that has to be a better anchor and a better rim protector so that when guys like Brunson are beat or Hart are beat or God forbid Bridges is beat, we have someone in the back line who naturally stop a shot or at least contort it to where it's a more difficult shot. We're not having that yet. And I've seen what miracles can happen in Phoenix when Mattel Bridges is the best point attack defender. I think it can happen here too.
Yeah, I feel like we need Cat to be like 20% better. Like this, or at least something like, because like I said, first half Cat, you saw it, hands to the side, hands not up, not closing out. If you're for drop or against drop, even if you're against drop, which I am, he wasn't even putting a hand up. He wasn't even attempting to close out after the drop.
Yeah.
Second half, he might have dropped a little bit, but he would make up the distance. He would close out on Porzingis, and little things like that consistently makes a damn difference. Like he has to make a damn difference. He has to care on that side of the ball and not just be ball watching all game.
I definitely agree with that. JB has been better, but it's still. But he's been better from the beginning of the year, definitely.
Yeah,
Of
definitely.
adjusting himself, of taking better angles. I think again, Cat and JB, they just have to watch more film. It's like they're not prepared. There's always a guess. Like they didn't. Oh, somebody makes a move. Oh, snap! Like he always looks a step slow. Like, oh, somebody made a move. Let me do something now. But it's too late for the let me do something now.
Right.
It's a lot of. I mentioned this before he got here. That was one of the similarities I said between him and Randall. Them babies be watching. So we need the lack of watching, and then also film IQ. He takes the wrong angles all the time. You don't have to be the fastest on defense. It's just or knowing where the defender is going or trying to push him into or her into a spot. He just lets them do whatever. And like you mentioned earlier, Jay, his not hands up. He takes the business decisions all the time. If he think somebody about to dunk, you're not going to see Cat attempt or anything.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. So gotta clean those things up. Gotta clean those things up.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to it, man. Let's get to the other part of the show.
I actually had to. Can we get to the some of the chat? I had some responses.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, Lee left, but Fritz asked if he was going to sign a virtual pink slip for Tibbs. That was funny. Fritz asked that. I mentioned Prez said I miss Sims. I definitely do. Greg Lee said ball movement was nasty. Definitely was. It was
Yeah.
that it was non-existent. Um, Anger said why Hawk didn't play, and I truly believe he's not ready. That is the answer. He's good in flashes, but I don't believe he's ready for long stints of time. And
Who?
Hawk Porty.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's in that learning phase, and I've gained more respect for him, but I still don't think that he's ready right now. So that's probably Tibbs and his lack of confidence in the youth, like he normally does. But Hot Porty is where kind of where Mitch was. He jumps at everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not. The game is not slow just yet, so he finds himself in foul trouble and committing, silly fouls at times. So I
Yeah,
just
I
think
agree.
that
I agree.
yeah, that the only reason I really truly believe we see Hot Porty is because Tibbs is a man of habit, and he has to work his system in, and he's going to do that system no matter what. That's why we see what we see defensively, because he's expecting his rim protector to return. Um, So you implement Porty because that'll probably be Mitch's role, getting the team used to it. That's what I truly believe in that point. Predicate said that about the spacing with Mitch, I think it was, and but I just want to ask, do the Cavs lose? Do they lose spacing? Do the Hawks lose spacing? There's a lot of teams who don't have big shooting threes. Do they lose spacing, or do they? What's the common denominator? They have a passer that can do what? What can they do? They can lob the ball up, and we don't have one of
Yeah.
those because
I
JB tried to do it today, and it just confirmed he's not a
yeah.
lob thrower.
I feel like for against the Cavs especially, like if you put Mitch in there and put Josh Hart on the bench for the Cavs game, I feel like we match up pretty well. And then the I feel like there wouldn't be a super spacing problem either.
hmm And but yeah, I forgot somebody said I think Pac is a gem. I really think we need to try to get that man some little bit. I know he was hurt, but I would love to see him progress. I think I love his size and his confidence. It would be best if we tried to make one of these youngins think they had a chance. And what was it? And then I got one more question. Did we trade our toughness? Did we trade our crash outs? That's what I want to ask. Did we trade the people that's gonna crash out for this team that gave us that little nudge, that little did we do that? Um
Who Devo?
yeah, no, Devo and Randall, because say what you want about Randall, he was you wasn't going to talk that crap to his face like that. You get what I mean? You wasn't going to do a certain type of nothing to him. People show some kind of respect to that. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't try to overturn him and stuff. So that's why I wanted to know: did we trade our toughness? Did we trade our crash out? You know, um, Mitch has his own way of putting that dirty work, but he's not on the court. So now you see the lack of it, I believe. And like you mentioned too, Jay, I just want to say real quick about Mikal. You know how I feel about getting players from losing teams. You see it. They got to shake that rust off. Got to shake when people are expecting things, expectations. So I just think I cannot give my honest opinion until I see Mitch with this team. That's how I'm feeling.
Cool. All right, all
And I
right,
think
all
that's it.
right.
That's it.
Cool. Let's get it. Let's get to the other part of the show. If you have any, you guys have any ooh picks, bro picks?
Yeah, I got a bro pick, and he been asking to be here for a minute
Bruh.
actually. um, Brian Winhurst. You talk with a lot of hate towards New York. I don't know what. Oh, it's a LeBron thing. I get it. Yeah, that was a LeBron guy. I get it. But your hate shows through everything you say when it comes to New York, and I get it. I get it. We've lost to some big teams, but he talks like he has this crystal ball, and I would love to shut himself up. I was about to be mean, but I'm not gonna body shame that guy. So I need you to relax, Putty. I need you to relax, Michelin Man. Yeah, this he been real
Bruh.
loud about us lately. Real loud. You don't
Yeah,
got a crystal
it's always
ball,
louder
right?
when you mention the Knicks, man. It just is what it is. But a
Like
part
for
of that
no
too is, man,
reason.
he's loud, but at the same time, like it's up to the Knicks to shut him up. He wouldn't be this loud if we beat a contender.
Mhm. Well, we didn't beat the OKCs and we didn't beat Boston. But we got other good teams.
Yeah, we got other
I
teams, but
get
we
it.
gotta beat the big threes out here.
But with him, it feels like he's almost trying to manifest our failure. I don't like that. I don't like you trying to talk till it happens. You know, like I
Mm.
don't do that. You can't talk about us. Only we can talk about us. That's
I
it.
feel you. I feel you. We gotta beat those big threes. Right now, we're not even J. Cole right now.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
We
Right
Big
now, look
Sean.
like
All
Boston
right.
said, "F for a big three." It's just Big B.
Not even Kendrick, we're not Drake, we're not J. Cole. We Big Sean right now. All right. We need to beat one of them.
Yeah. I don't want to be Big Sean.
All right. Anyone?
Well, I'm done.
All right.
That was it. That was my
That
only
was it.
bruh pick.
Bruh. Whew. All right. I'm ready to get out of here, man. I'm ready to get out. Yo,
I gotta
I
go.
appreciate you guys for the support, man. We'll be back. We'll be back talking Knicks basketball for the next game. Next game is when is the next game?
Don't
It's
get
like
me
after the
wrong.
Celtics game. I didn't see any game in my list.
It looks like Wednesday, Philly.
Wednesday.
Good stuff. We play against Quentin Grimes, who doesn't look like he found a
Oh, he's gonna
home,
be.
huh?
Quentin Grimes is gonna be motivated. Motivated. All right, let's get it. Knicks 76ers. We here. Hopefully we get that win. We should win. I don't see a reason why we shouldn't. So we'll be here talking Knicks basketball on Wednesday. Hopefully you guys tune in and enjoy the conversation with us. All right. All right, yo. Lee, let them know where they can find you, Lee.
Man, great talk tonight. This was a great basketball conversation. Great to have Ebony, me, and Jay on the same episode. Really fun. Yeah, find me on Twitter @_Leescobedo, LeeEscobedo. Today's book club I picked up this weekend, Pergentio Jose. It's called Red Ants. It's a very small chapbook of short stories. The first, I bought it from a store that specializes in translations from across the world. This one is the first translated work of Sierra Zapotec language, which is central to Oaxaca, Mexico. Very interesting book of surrealism, but the most interesting about it, all the characters take place in the highlands. So it's like farmers and grandmothers and nannies, a lot of village people, very indigenous, like very poor people from their perspective. So you don't really read a whole lot of fantasy fiction that involves the lower class. And that's one of my favorite parts about this writer. He writes from his family members, his grandmother, his aunts, his cousins, and it's really interesting. And I love surrealism. It's very surreal too. Animals talk, nature is within people, all that stuff. Gods come down from the heavens to talk to the humans. Very good stuff. Red Ants, Pergentio Jose.
All right.
And like the chat mentioned too, Jay, Mitch might be back.
Yeah, I was about to address that. Is that a fact? I was actually saw that. I was looking on Twitter for like a confirmation. Is that
Sham
a
said it.
fact?
Shams reported that in with the week, Mitch should be back.
Or within a week?
Great.
Yeah, I saw Sham say within a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's different
So,
from
the next game,
right.
maybe
That's
who
different from
knows?
next game.
Who knows? I'm just gonna do this right here.
Yeah, that's how I was actually looking on Twitter to see if I saw anything definitively that said.
You know what's sad is that exactly a week from now would be next Sunday, and we play Miami, the dirtiest team in the NBA.
Oh, Lord.
Let's wait until bring them back the next game.
Yeah.
Let's not risk injury.
I was kind of thinking that with Philadelphia too.
I was
though,
thinking the
Lee.
same thing. Do we really want to bring him back versus Philadelphia?
For real.
I think I want to skip that game. Let's skip
Let's
that.
wait till
Philly.
Sacramento.
Is Embiid playing that game? Like that's
Yeah. Frisch said that Mitch should get suspended versus Embiid. I believe it.
word. The big payback.
I I think Karma paying back Embiid everything he needs.
Oh, you're right about that. You're definitely right about that. Yeesh. All right. Ebony, let me know where you can find you, Ebony.
You can find me here after every post game. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, X or Twitter. Yeah, I said Twitter already. And Mad Nick Fan. You know, I do the pregame on Twitter at Call Your Take Knicks, and I do also cover women's basketball at Bowling with the Queen. So,
all right, definitely check out Ebony on those platforms for sure. You can find us at the KOT Show on Twitter, the Knick of Time Show on Instagram, and Knick of Time Show on Facebook as well. Also, you already know, man, I appreciate you guys' support, man. Without you guys, there is no us. You keep us going, keep us doing these post games. So I definitely appreciate all the support from everybody. Shout out to my guy, JT Riddick, the trainer in my head. Shout out to Sherwin, who dropped in to say what's up. Shout out to my girl Glamour. Shout out to Gregory Lee. Shout out to Deras. Everybody else is rocking with the KOT Show. Definitely appreciate the support. If you're feeling the content, hit that subscribe, like, share, all of that. Super chats are also welcome as well. It helps keep the lights on. And yeah, we will see you on Wednesday. All right. Great show, guys. Really enjoy the conversation for sure. That is the show. Thank you guys for watching. And as always,
shout out the worldwide west. Everywhere we go, we leave a worldwide mess.
It's a mess out here in these Knicks streets. That's the show. We out this mug. Peace. Hold on. Here we go. Ha.
New York, big city of dreams.